So my story is to do with economic versus psychological well-being. Economics and psychology in recent times have suggested that poverty and poor psychological well-being may reinforce each other. For example, if you are poor, that can lead to unnecessary financial stress, which can lead to mental illness over time. And equally, poor mental health can inhibit one's ability to participate in the job market.
So Donald Trump is right when he says that poor people are sad.
I don't think in the way that he meant it.
Look, honestly, I don't have a specific instance of him saying that in my head, but the number of times he calls things sad, talks about poor people and calls people losers,
Sad.
I am certain that has come up at least once. But
Always
yeah.
in all
Interesting.
caps. It's sad, bad, and mad. I think are his three big ones that sign off his tweets. So there, you kind of have a feedback loop where if you happen to be poor or you happen to be mentally ill, it can lead you to the other and then into a vicious cycle where it's very hard to get out of. But there are three possible solutions that we can take from this. Either we can intervene and kind of alleviate the poverty. We can intervene and alleviate, we can target the mental health issues and try and fix those. Or we can do a bit of both.
Let's just solve the mental health issues, but keep them poor. We don't want to give them money.
But if you solve the mental health issues, maybe they'll get less poor. You don't know. Maybe they could work better.
That's true, because in
Was
capitalism...
a suggestion.
yeah.
But a new study done by Johannes, I'm going to butcher these names, I'm sorry, Johannes Haushofer, Robert Mudida, and Jeremy P. Shapiro.
Ugh.
Shapiro, yeah, bad name. I'm sorry if your name is Shapiro. They did a study that takes a look at the efficacy of all three of these possible solutions. So the study divided 5,756 individuals from low-income households in rural Kenya into 4 different treatment conditions. Group 1 focused on 540 people from 60 different villages that were given an unconditional cash transfer.
I want to be involved in this survey.
I know, just
I want to
giving
be
money
involved
for
in this study.
nothing.
This is a great study to be involved in. Hey, here's free therapy. Here's
Yeah.
free money. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Some of you get both. Some of you get one or the other. Although, to be fair, the group 4 gets none of them.
But
So,
still, you're neutral,
still.
you know?
Group 2 focused on 525 people from 60 different villages that were treated with a program called Problem Management Plus. The third group focused on 493 people from 53 villages, and they received both the cash transfer and the free therapy from the Problem Management Plus. And then group 4 was the control group, so they got absolutely nothing. I'm so sorry. And there was 1,703 people.
Hang on.
In the
That
study.
sounds like group 4 was just the rest of us. Just
Yeah.
the
Yes.
world.
It's the control group, yeah.
Everyone was the control group, yeah.
But the key thing is that they were all from low-income households.
You know what this seems like to me is, right, so there's 540 people that get cash transfers, there's 525 that get the sort of psychotherapy,
Yeah.
and then 493 that get both.
Yeah.
It feels like they were like, okay, yeah, give all these people cash. Okay, now give some therapy, because actually the cash was quite expensive to give away. Oh no, we need to give even fewer of them cash and therapy because they're both so expensive. We can't fill it. There's 1,000 other people, you know.
And they were left with 1,700 people, and they were they get nothing.
Control. They don't get anything.
They're all
That's
the
it.
control group. And I just want to add that the villages receiving the cash transfer only or the psychotherapy only treatments, they added an extra 2,400 non-recipient households that were surveyed to estimate the kind of spillover effects that these interventions had on a village level.
Trickle down economics.
Trickle down economics, that's it. Of all the recipients that received a cash transfer, half of them were randomly allocated to receive a lump sum transfer, and the other half got a sequence of weekly installments over 5 weeks. A detailed survey was administered to participants before the intervention, before the treatment, and a year after the treatment had ended. So I think Kari knows a bit about this already, it seems like.
Do
But
I?
I just want to ask Luke, what do you think the results found from this?
Well, I expect that the results found unanimously that if you help people out who are struggling, their lives will get better, and they'll probably figure out ways of ensuring that they get better on their own as well.
Yes. Well, that's
Wow.
true. But what do you think? Do you think one of
Who
the methods
knew?
was preferred?
I think that the cash transfer probably had a bigger effect because people can be functioning when they have mental health things going on, but it's really hard to thrive when you're just struggling to get by.
Yeah. Well, in fact, the cash transfer, we're going to first look at the cash transfer only group. It was super effective at improving both the psychological and economic well-being of the people in this group. In fact, their monthly consumption went up by 20% after a year. Their asset holdings went up by 47%, and their household revenue went up by 26% at the end of the year. As opposed to the people that received just therapy, that had zero effect on their economic or psychological outcome at the end. It was like little to no effect. Consumption and asset holding went up by 5%, and household revenue went up by 9%, but these results were deemed statistically insignificant.
Yeah, like money can't buy you happiness. Happiness is a lie that is sold to us by rich people that want to keep all the money and happiness for themselves. That's what I believe. Communism for everyone.
Well, money can't buy you happiness after a point.
Yeah,
If most of your unhappiness is caused by lack of money, then money can buy you happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a point. I think it's above, what was it?
40 grand.
40 grand?
Grand-ish, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say 50. Yeah, about 40 grand where you can't get any more happy from money. But like
Happiness kind of plateaus at 40 grand. It's
Yeah.
just like constant.
but given that 40 grand is far above the sort of average income for most people, I mean, even in supposedly very rich countries, it's kind of weird that we've got the whole thing. Oh, money can't buy you happiness.
Yeah.
But like, okay, well, why don't we get everyone to 40 grand a year, right? And then
we'll say.
then we can say that. Like,
Yeah. And so the third group was the cash transfer and the psychotherapy put together. And that had pretty much the same results as just cash only, surprisingly enough. So it seems to be in this study, overwhelmingly the psychotherapy did very little to these people.
I mean, it makes sense if you're okay. So if I'm stressed out about if I'm stressed out about like money, and then suddenly you give me money, I'm no longer stressed about the money.
Yes.
Yes. So it's my stress will go away just with having.
So you have
money.
more time to focus on yourself
Yeah,
and
exactly.
your own well-being.
I think as well, it just if you imagine that your brain is trying to sort of when you're trying to make long-term goals, and your long-term goals being one of your long-term goals being sort of financial security. If you have a lot of short-term goals, you're not going to be able to expend a lot of brain energy planning in that long-term way. So not only are you you're spending all your time thinking about like the stress that comes with not having any money, you're also less able to focus on actually making plans that might in the long term fix your situation. Just because so much of your brain is dedicated to, oh my God, I need to pay this. How am I going to do that? Oh my God, this is a really exciting. I'm assuming one of the conclusions of this is like, we need a universal basic income.
This is what I was going to talk about. They didn't talk about universal basic income in the study, but that was my main takeaway, that giving people these, because also the not the lump sum, but the other one, the kind of installments of cash payments proved to be better than just the lump sums. I can't find it. Let's bring it up really quick. So the weekly cash transfers were shown to be more effective at improving economic outcomes over the lump sum transfers, while also showing to have equal effect on psychological well-being.
I mean, I think it makes sense. I think I've heard before that when you grow up not having money, you sort of have the mindset of if you have money, it needs to be spent now because otherwise it will need to be spent on something. Because whenever you save up, it'll have to go to like something else.
Yeah.
So if you've got money and you want to enjoy, you need to spend it now. And also, if you've got like things racking up that you need to pay for, like I need to get the car fixed because whatever, like it's
Some
about to
issue,
break.
yeah.
Like you'll have to spend. So like if you get a lump sum, that lump sum is going to go.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to be like, oh well, I can
Yeah.
pay for things regularly
Yeah.
now.
And it kind of incentivizes budgeting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult. It's much more difficult to budget when you get given a lot of money at once.
A big lump.
In
Yeah.
comparison to being paid, being paid weekly was so much better for me than being paid.
Oh, yeah.
monthly.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because
When I
by
was
the
at my first retail job, I got paid every single week. And I was like, I knew I was going to get money every week. And I knew exactly like how much roughly it would be and where it would have to go and like what I would have to budget for.
Yeah, no, this makes sense. I'm glad this study exists.
Yeah, so there were kind of two main findings as the conclusion. The first main finding was after 1 year, cash transfers had a larger effect on economic and psychological well-being than the Problem Management Plus treatment, which shows no improvement relative to the control group. And the second main finding was that, interestingly, the per household cost of the cash transfer was lower than that of the psychotherapy treatment, showing that the psychotherapy route, that intervention, was both the most expensive route and the least effective route.
Devastating for the psychology industry.
Yeah.
It'd be really funny. It'd be so funny if what comes out of this is that a lot of therapy is just a waste of money, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if you go to the doctor and you're feeling like anxious and depressed and they prescribe you free money.
Yeah.
Instead of therapy.
Instead of paying like £100 an hour to see a therapist, you go to your doctor and you say, I'm very sad. And they prescribe you £100, like £100 a week for your therapy. Oh my Lord.
my God.
For your therapy session. Like here's
Yeah.
here's another £400 a month.
Well,
I think that would actually work. Not gonna lie. I think that would sort a
it
lot
would
of,
be a little bit effective, wouldn't it?
that would sort out a
It
lot
would
of
like
things.
push things along a bit.
Yeah, like there you go.
But I don't want to, I did include this at the end because I want to sign off with this. I don't want to leave you going away with the idea that psychotherapy is completely useless and not good for anything, because there are a couple of other studies that showed that the Problem Management Plus treatment could be effective in certain scenarios. One of them was done by Richard Bryant in 2017, also in Kenya. He treated women with Problem Management Plus treatment, and these women had experienced gender-based violence and had obviously got some trauma from that. And the treatment proved to be pretty significant, and it made some really good improvements to their mental well-being only 3 months after they started the treatment as well. And there was another one in 2016 in India from someone named Gozal. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but that they did it with sex workers because there was a big stigma associated with sex work. And they used the treatment as kind of like a self-esteem course over 15 months. And that, again, showed significant improvements with self-esteem in the sex workers. So it kind of just proves that, or it suggests, I guess, that psychotherapy is really good at targeting specific issues like trauma. But when it comes to wider issues like poor mental well-being as a result of material conditions, it's not as effective at solving those mental issues.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we make jokes, you know, and therapy could be very, very effective. But if you go into therapy to fix a broken leg, it's not going to work. If you go into therapy because the system that you live in is unjust and results in poverty, it's not you're basically, if you got therapy to basically make people be okay with being in poverty, it's like, things are bad, but maybe don't be sad about them because that makes rich people unhappy.
Yeah.
You know,
So we got a really interesting comment in the chat, which is something my mum talks about a lot as well, which is Ellie Wickens has said, the money making you happy thing is very similar to a theory we get taught in teacher training called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If basic needs aren't met, it's much harder to be happy. My mum talks about this to me all the time, and I've looked it up. And so Maslow's hierarchy of needs goes psychological is the foundation. Then you have safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. And so it sounds like from this theory, and from your study, James, that the money, the cash transfer, is dealing with physiological needs. The absolute foundation of life: water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing.
Yeah.
Therapy is targeting esteem issues, which are fourth on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Which is like you've not even dealt with the very foundational stuff in being alive and not worrying about suddenly not being able to eat. You know, dealing with all that the stuff about self-esteem might not even exist when you're in survival mode.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that clip, head over to patreon.com/SciGuys where you can find the full show. Or you can stay here and catch up on old SciGuys episodes. Or you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at SciGuysPod to find out when we're doing more live shows.